Well, blessings, everybody. I'm Dale from the Precept classes in Cullman, Alabama. And I thank you for being with me as we are looking at a course entitled Prepare to Meet Your God. It's based on the book of Amos. So be certain to read the scripture passage that you see right there, okay? This is the second video of lesson one. After you read the scripture passage, come back and let's go through some things, okay? So what we're seeing in this portion of the scripture is that the Lord roars from Zion and the Lord roars from Jerusalem, and he utters his voice. This is speaking of how the Lord is roaring forth the truth and is proclaiming something. And then it starts describing what all happens physically there. In other words, the word of the Lord is coming in judgment. And then you see a couple of phrases that are repeated, I think 8 different times here. It says, for 3 transgressions of, and for 4, I will not revoke his punishment. And the Lord starts off with each one of these nations that he's about to address here in this first chapter and in the second chapter also. And this little phrase right here just speaks of completion, of fulfillment. It may have a poetic element. One commentator said that, because of the 4 and 3. In other words, that your judgment is your transgressions are full now, and your judgment's going to come forth. So the Lord is releasing this word, and the first one comes to Damascus. Now Damascus is in relationship to the Holy Land, up to the northeast of the Holy Land and of Israel, and this is important to understand. And here's what they had done. God says, because you threshed Gilead with implements of sharp iron. He's not talking about the soil and the land. He's talking about how these people, the Arameans, had attacked the people of the Lord. He said, I'm going to send fire upon the house of Hazael. And if you remember in our previous studies, Hazael had actually killed the previous king, whose name was Ben-Hadad. And so then the next phrase says, I'm going to consume the citadels of Ben-Hadad. This is Ben-Hadad, Hazael's son, who is named after the king that Hazael had killed. He says, I'm also going to break the gate bar. I'm going to cut off the inhabitants of the valley of Avin, the valley of evil, the valley of wickedness. And I'm going to cut off the one who holds the scepter of Beth Eden, the house of pleasure. And he says, the people of Aram will go into exile in Kir. And then he comes along and says the same phrase, for 3 transgressions and for 4 to Gaza. Gaza is on the southwest portion, the west-southwest portion of where Israel is. And he says, because you deported an entire population and delivered them to Edom, they did these things back previously to the nation of Israel. I'm going to send fire upon the wall of Gaza, and your citadels will be consumed. And he said, I'm going to cut off the inhabitants of Ashdod, of Ashkelon. I'm going to unleash my power upon Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines will perish. And what we're going to see when we look at all these nations is that the Lord is releasing and encircling, okay? He's releasing a word of judgment from the northeast to the southwest, and he's going to go to the northwest, and he's going to southeast, and he's talking, beginning first with the pagan enemies, and then he's going to get closer in family relationships either. Here's what I want us to remember for today, okay? The Lord will judge. The Lord will honor his word. He does not forget. He judges righteously. And the question we have to examine among ourselves is, are we ready? Are we ready to face him? I thank you for being with me, and I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.